You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello and welcome to the Reefer Reporters with Rev Kelly and myself, Al Graham. It's September the 26th, 2022, and we are live here from the Legacy420.com news desk on the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network, found at paceradio.net. Good morning, Rev Kelly. How are you doing?
Good morning, Al. Happy fall. It's autumn now.
That's right. It's also happy birthday to my son today. My son Adam. It's his 44th birthday. Happy birthday to him.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. He's 44 in the 22nd year.
Yeah. Born in 1978.
Wow. There you go.
That's right.
Wonderful. Well, we got a little bit of a cool chill at the window, but it's nice that there's no rain right now. What's it like outside your place?
Well, we did have some sun earlier, but it's gone to cloud, and my understanding is going to turn to rain shortly after lunchtime today.
And we had a little frost warning last week too.
Correct.
Think about our
Frost
plants,
warnings.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you still have plants out?
Oh yeah. I'm not worried about that.
Not even October yet.
Yeah, no, it's not even October yet. Exactly. It's not even October. So no, I'm not. Little frost. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, it'll be good. They're
And it was only a
plants.
warning. I did check the temperatures and the feel-like temperatures, but no concern. Not yet.
That's right.
So exactly. All right. Anything you want to bring up before we get into the news?
There's so much happening right now. There's so much. Everywhere I look is about this cannabis review. So that's, let's just start, Al. Let's just have these.
Let's just start right there.
Exactly. That's everywhere. Everybody's mind.
Article by Stratcan, Cannabis Act Review to focus on progress, impact of legalization in Canada, plus other things.
Right. Well, they've announced, Health Canada's announced their launch. They're going to be doing the formal review of the Cannabis Act, and it will be led by Morris Rosenberg, a lawyer and longtime public servant who has served as former Deputy Minister of Health, Deputy Minister of Justice, and Deputy Attorney General, and as Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs.
4 other members of the expert panel will be announced in the coming weeks. As expected, the review will focus primarily on the impact of legalization on young persons, on Indigenous communities, and the impact of growing cannabis at home. The Cannabis Act has a mandated review written into the Act itself to look at these 3 points of concern.
Interesting. The quote here, I am honored to be leading the expert panel in conducting a thorough, independent review of the Cannabis Act, said Rosenberg. I look forward to hearing the perspectives of the public stakeholders and First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people through the online engagement process that is underway.
Yep. Now, the review will also expand its focus beyond that to look at the economic, social, and environmental aspects of the Cannabis Act, the progress of providing adults with access to legal cannabis, the success in removing criminal activity from the market, the impact of legalization on access to cannabis for medical purposes, and more specifically, whether all aspects of the current medical cannabis framework are or will still be needed in the future to ensure access for those who use cannabis for medical purposes. Rev Kelly, what's that saying to you?
That actually sends up some red flag alarm bells right there.
Sure does,
We've been
doesn't it?
watching cannabis educators and medical cannabis advocates over the last couple of years say things like this publicly. We are in jeopardy of losing medical cannabis in our country. And I've heard them speak about that. And to read this, because that is part of the review, that's a scary, scary point, Al. What do you think?
Well, I look back to the early days of the medical program before it even became launched.
Yep.
And that was in the Parker decisions and those decisions around that time where access wasn't available for medical patients.
Yeah.
Now that we have thousands of stores spread across the country from coast to coast,
Yeah.
and they're selling in those stores, even though they're labeled recreational,
Right.
they have wellness sections in them. They
Certainly.
sell products that I know I wouldn't consider recreational, like facial scrubs
Right.
or suppositories.
Yeah.
So I
I know.
I
I
am
know.
concerned that
Yeah.
the medical program could be phased out
Right.
and patients will be left behind again.
And if that's the case, even just the one fact, we can go over hundreds of them. One fact, when there are medical patients using pills or medicines from a doctor, they need to slowly come off of that and to be replaced with cannabis when someone wants to do that. There's a process in that. If there's no option for medical cannabis and it's just going to these adult use stores, those patients aren't going to get the treatment they need. They're not going to be able to
Well,
get the
no,
help
they're
they
not going
need
to get
going
the
to rec
advice.
stores.
Yeah, they're not going to get the advice that they need.
No.
The care that they need.
Right.
None of that stuff's going to be there by going to a store. And we know
Right.
what the laws are around people talking to them about medical cannabis at a store.
Yep. Yep. So they're gonna
No.
they're gonna include Indigenous relations in this conversation, which I really like. I think that's really important because I
Yes.
think that we have to make sure that the sovereign cannabis is not controlled by the government. Of course, that shouldn't be. So hopefully that will be a
Well,
perspective that will come up as well.
let's hope they speak more to them now than they did before,
Yeah.
because they talk about the impact on them. Now, from what I'm seeing,
Yeah.
as I drive by the reserves, the two that are in our area,
Yeah.
my area, an hour, half hour each way type thing. I've seen new buildings go up,
Yeah.
new stores go up, new
Yeah.
houses being built,
Hmm.
houses being fixed.
Yeah.
I'm sure there might be
Industry,
some downside, but I've seen a lot of upside.
enterprise,
Industry,
harm reduction. Yeah.
correct.
And they're going to talk about the impact of growing cannabis at home, of which we know our bordering provinces can't do that in Manitoba and Quebec. So hopefully that will come under review for those provinces specifically.
Yeah, for growing at home. I don't know whether I read something about it being grown in dwellings,
Okay.
and them looking at it being grown indoors.
Yep.
So my concern, one of the past legal cases before the court,
Yep.
the police described a medical garden the same as they described a house that was overrun by a grow up that was completely mold
Wow.
infested,
Wow.
damaged beyond repair.
Right.
And the judge right in his ruling, so he said that the officers couldn't be believed.
Wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
I do have some concerns when it
Yeah.
comes to that, because it can be grown safely inside a dwelling, just like orchids and other
Sure.
plants.
Sure. Yeah, changes need to be made, conversations need to be happening, and people that are working within the cannabis space are being asked to write in and fill out the
Yes.
questionnaire that's on board to support these kinds of changes. Now, an expert panel will engage with various stakeholders over the coming months, and Canadians can engage directly online through November 21st to be launched today. Last week it was launched, the questionnaire. Also, there'll be additional consultations for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people to see how Health Canada has fared with respect to engagement with those groups. So that's great to see. I know they're also doing some research when it comes to socioeconomic, as well as women's issues. So that's
Yes, they mentioned that.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah, which is good to see.
yeah, really good to see.
Yeah. It says here, Health Canada has released a report on cannabis legalization and regulation in Canada and the online survey. They have also released a separate report looking at the impact of legalization on First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities. The summary from the engagement with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples, the Cannabis Act, and its impacts, looks at issues related to public health as well as jurisdictional authorities as it relates to cannabis legalization in those various communities, issues of jurisdiction around how cannabis can be managed in First Nation communities is an ongoing and evolving issue in Canada, with the conflicting legal interpretations.
Ooh. And then it notes that it's nearly a year behind schedule.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they note that because
Yeah.
it is. We've been waiting for it for a while. For them
We
to come
have
up.
been. And,
Yeah.
this is just the start. Like, they're talking like it could be another 18 months
Yeah.
before this report is released.
Yeah.
So like it's gonna be
Change
a
is
while, obviously.
I know.
And I'm sure that there's some people who just can't wait for that to come out, that report to come out.
Yeah. Well, they're
I'm
hopefully. I didn't see anything so far about tourism or hospitality, the changes made there,
no,
and that's something that we need to have conversations about as well. We never got to get started, the tourism industry,
that's
right? So
right. Yeah,
hopefully changes will be made a little bit with that.
hopefully. And you're not the only one, because the Prairie Cannabis stores are looking for the Cannabis Act review to enable greater competitiveness with the illicit market, according to Global News.
Yes. Now, as you know, as we know, the federal government has launched the review, and it's supposed to determine if the legislation is meeting with the needs and expectations of Canadians.
The review is supposed to determine if the legislation is meeting the needs of and expectations of Canadians. George Smitherman, President and CEO of the Cannabis Council of Canada, said they welcome the review but want to see urgent relief from the tax and regulatory burden on legal cannabis producers to enable competition with the illicit market.
Yeah, he says that some areas where we're really in need of reform to compete better with the illicit market are to restore some order of financial viability for licensed participants, to give us some more flexibility to communicate with our consumers, and to reduce some of the regulatory burden that we're experiencing.
When it comes to the tax end of things, they're always talking about the excise tax, so on and so forth. There was one article I read over the last week. When I added it all up, 46% of a gram was taxed.
Wow. Whew.
Between all the levels of government that were
That's a
involved in
lot.
it.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. Exactly. Okay. Some areas where they really need to reform to compete better with the illicit market are to restore some orders of financial viability for licensed participants, to give us some more flexibility to communicate with our consumers and reduce some of the regulatory burden that we're experiencing, according to Smitherman.
Now, Carrie Mitchell, president of the Farmer Jane Cannabis Company, says it's great to see the positive economic and social impact legalization of cannabis is having on Canada. She says it accounts for around $11 billion in retail sales and right now over 90,000 jobs, which I think is pretty significant. And we don't need to do what we can just to make sure we're nurturing the growth of the sector.
Smitherman says that each province has a different retail model, so excise tax and markups vary by province. But overall, the excise tax has proven to be a much bigger tax than what was initially promised. The promised tax was 10% on cannabis products, but in many, many cases, we're having taxes that are in the 30 to 35% range, he says.
Mitchell and Smitherman both said one of the biggest challenges they face is the THC limit on edibles, which currently sits at 10 milligrams per package.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
He says that Mitchell says that right now, I believe about 2/3 of consumers are actually turning to the illicit market where they can find edibles that have 10 times the amount of legal limits. And oftentimes, those aren't being created in a safe manner and they're not equally dosed either.
That's such a beautiful comment. If you get something that is true to dose or tested and lab tested, you're getting the right medicine for you. Now, she added that while Regina was slow to grow the cannabis space, the market here is starting to get saturated with stores. November 2021, we had 16 stores. Now we have upwards of 30 with another 8 looking to be built.
Mitchell says the recommendation is one store per 10,000 people in population. So for Regina, with around 250,000 people, that comes to about 25 stores.
Saying that we've seen some discounters, some of the national players coming in and really reducing margins, which is actually great for consumers. There's great products out there that can compete with the illicit market.
Yes, Smitherman said the combined effort of high taxes and intense regulations and resilience of the illicit market make it tough for the business to decline in the legal cannabis industry.
All very good points. Everybody wants changes coast to coast.
Everybody wants changes, and
Yeah.
it's all around. It's not just one sector. Everything. There's they could. There's I'm glad they're taking input. I just hope that they pay attention to the input that they're getting.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice.
Sure
And
would be. Sure would
every
be.
sector is asking for a change. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see some stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Everything from the consumer to the businesses.
Yeah. Banking to
Yeah.
change the fact that we have to cover the windows. Change the beverages so that you can only get 5, not 6. So many different little things that just need to be fixed, and hopefully they'll be able to rejig it.
Exactly. All right, on to our next story. MJ Biz Daily. Canadian adult use cannabis sales get summer bump with a record July.
Ooh, yeah, they jumped sharply in July as Canadians stocked up for the summer. This is from Stats Canada. Regulated cannabis sales that month grew to 395 million Canadian dollars. That's almost 4.5 increase over June.
It was one of the biggest monthly gains so far this year in Canada. The province of Manitoba earned the biggest monthly increase by percentage, jumping 20% to $17.1 million in sales. On a dollar basis, the biggest monthly increase was in Ontario, where sales rose 6.8 million to 159 million.
In 1 month in our province.
Smokes.
$160 million in July in Ontario alone.
Yeah, which is it? Yeah, it's a huge increase too.
That's a big number. Quebec's cannabis sales grew a disappointing 1% month over month to 50 million. That's still big. That's still lots.
Yep. So far, $2.5 billion worth of recreational cannabis has been sold. It's a lot of bud.
That's a lot of bud. $2.55 billion Canadian. Billion.
Yeah.
And we're just in September. Like that just doesn't, that takes account up till what, July?
Yeah, that's 7 months.
7 months of the year.
Yeah, you can
Just shows
almost
you
make that about 4 billion.
Canada likes its weed. We better get the things fixed up there. Holy.
The other provinces, Alberta, they went up 3%. BC up 6%. Manitoba, as we mentioned before, 20%. 4.3 in Nova Scotia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every one of them went
10
up.
and 14%.
Nothing down.
Pardon me?
10% in Newfoundland.
Yes.
14 in Prince Edward
PEI. It's that East Coast thing, right?
Yeah, they love their weed. Good.
In Manitoba, if they allow them to grow it, maybe the numbers will come down.
Yeah. Well, in Toronto, they're leading the country with $54.1 million in sales, 5% up 5% over June. Toronto, $54 million in sales in Toronto alone. That's more than Quebec.
Yeah. Well, look at Montreal was their sales fell in July. Yeah. They 26 million. It's only half of what Toronto sells.
Wow. Phew. Huge numbers here, eh?
BC didn't go up any. Winnipeg, it went up 18.5%.
Wow.
So there you go.
These numbers are
sales
huge.
were up.
Yeah.
Summer months.
Yeah.
People were outside enjoying the summer weather.
We had nice summer this year. We had good weather. So
with that massive increase, you didn't hear about any massive increase of the world collapsing or the sky falling in or anything like that, did you?
No crime, nothing. I don't hear any of that stuff happening. Just people are getting well. People are getting healthy. People are feeling better.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, on to our next story. From New Cannabis Ventures. This legal cannabis market is slowing its growth.
Canada released its monthly data this week for July, indicating that cannabis sales in the country were at an all-time high of $394.8 million, up 4.5% sequentially, and up 17.8% from a year ago. While sales are growing, this is the lowest annual growth ever.
Based on 7 months of results and our projection, it appears that total sales will be approximately 4.55 billion this year, up about 20% over the year compared to the 3.8 billion from last year.
That's such a big number. Oh my goodness, 19%. So they're saying at the end of the year that we will have $4.55 billion in cannabis sales in Canada.
Yes, very well. Yeah.
Now, this week, Canada also announced that they'll review the program, launching about 4 years ago after a big delay due to the pandemic. Investors appreciate that cannabis is legal in the entire country, but they're probably not happy with the stock action. The NCV, the Canadian Cannabis LP Index, has dropped 87% over the past 3 years and is down 56.8% this year alone.
There's the graph. Look at that. It looks like a ski hill.
Goodbye. Wow.
Well, stock prices are down. Most Canadian licensed producers don't seem like they are the best stocks to buy now. The valuations are generally higher in Canada, while the revenue, profits, and cash flows are weaker than the American peers.
Now, unlike the American cannabis producers, the Canadian LPs don't pay extra taxes. They also seem likely to benefit from increasing legalization in Europe eventually, and perhaps the US too. Given their generally weak balance sheets, though, it's not clear that they will be in position to capitalize on market developments.
We have cut our exposure to Canadian LPs at our Cannabis Investor Subscription Service, 420 Investor, where we own just 2 names currently in our model portfolios. Both have been performing well optionally and aren't burdened with massive negative cash flow losses like their peers. One has no debt and has good cash, making it a good target in their view.
Okay.
Not investing in too many companies by the sounds of these guys.
Mm-mm.
And these are the stock people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The Canadian cannabis market has matured. It has several challenges still, and the one that could change it is the 10 milligram THC maximum per package may get improved. So we're fingers crossed with that. And that would be an improvement. It wouldn't help the market that much. There are, in our view, too many LPs still. A bigger problem is that the provinces are typically the distributors, and we don't expect this to change. So that's excellent commentary from this article here.
Yeah, they remain optimistic that the overall securities will rebound in the second half. They suggest that investors looking to buy the sector consider ancillary stocks and some multi-state operators rather than most Canadian licensed producers. Yeah, they're telling us that's the second time they said stay away from Canada.
Yeah. Holy, okay.
Yeah,
well,
there you go, eh?
It is. There
Wow,
it
it
is.
doesn't give you a rosy picture. But
Invest in Europe instead.
yeah, maybe.
I think that might be the way to go.
Yeah. All right. Last story before we go to break.
Yep.
This is an opinion piece on MJ Biz Daily, and it says, "Gray market cannabis shops open door for vape crisis 2.0."
Yeah, this is another important one. New Yorkers sit at home and patiently wait for the adult use cannabis market to get up and running. The gray market is flourishing, however.
And is flourishing to the detriment of consumers, he says. It might seem at first as if these pop-up shops and cannabis food trucks make everything so much more convenient.
Cannabis food trucks.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, in New York.
Wait a
Yeah.
second. They must be in New York City. I know it. New York is getting so excited for their legalization coming up in the next couple of months. But I didn't know they were having food trucks there.
Yes. Yeah.
I
They
wanna
got
go to New
food
York,
trucks
try
going
their food
on
trucks.
there and
Oh my.
selling, cannabis out of the food trucks.
Amazing. They offer products from across the country and many recognizable brands, but do consumers really know if these products are authentic or if cannabis is even safe? And they're saying, of course not.
Yeah. Just a few years ago, this country experienced a vape crisis with which more than 2,000 Americans were hospitalized with lung illnesses associated with vaping, and 60 people died, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Its investigators found that the cause of the crisis was linked back to illicit products that contained vitamin E acetate. Now, what bothered me about when all that came out was they kept saying cannabis vaping. Well, patients have been vaping with like the volcano
Volcano.
vaporizer and dry herb for
Yeah.
years and never ever had any problem.
Right.
And
Right.
I
So
wish
it's
sometimes they would differentiate or separate the two.
right. It's not all not vaporizing dry herb, but using the products that in their liquid
Liquid
form.
form, yeah.
In their liquid
Yeah.
form.
That's how they created the liquid.
Right. The vast majority of products that were causing the vaping associated lung injury crisis were products obtained on the street, and they contained that additive. The vitamin E is used by bad actors to dilute THC vape cartridges to increase their profits, and it would stand to reason that this practice has not gone away.
So they asked, why would regulators not take more action to protect their fellow New Yorkers from the potential serious health risk? Ever since the legalization of cannabis in New York in April of 2021, the gray market has been allowed to thrive.
So operators do not worry about the police potentially breaking down their doors until regulations are enacted. Until then, they have the unofficial license to sell whatever they want.
Yep, it says cease and desist letters were sent a few months ago to these operators, telling them that if they don't stop, they will not be eligible for licenses when the time comes. They did that in Toronto.
Yep, that's fair.
However, the members of the State Office of Cannabis Management don't seem to get it.
Okay. They're saying not everything's about money. What about the safety of consumers in the meantime? So when we go back to the popcorn lung or the vitamin E in these vapes, that's a really good point. The vape products are just like other gray market products, zero visibility into what goes into that oil, not to mention the zero thought that's given by consumers about how the oil interacts with the various materials in their vaporizer. They turn this product into vapor to allow it to be inhaled into their lungs. So they're not being tested, and we don't know what's happening with them.
Well, the thing is to ask questions.
Right.
If you're buying from somebody, ask them, is this vitamin E product in there? Because obviously you don't want it. And if they don't know, then maybe it's a good option for you to move on and ask somebody who does.
Great point.
All right.
Yeah.
We're done there. All righty. Okay. Well, what do you say? Break time?
Break time.
All right. After we go to break, means that you're going to hear from our sponsors, then Rev Kelly, and I'll be right back after the break. You're watching the Reefer Reporters here on the Pace Radio Network. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponics system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
Let's share Pace everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. Hey, we're back from our medication break, and we are the Reefer reporters. Wow, just in time, Kelly. You're probably flying behind the scenes just as quick as Dr. Buck was going through his bed and breakfast there.
Spin.
And also during the commercial, viewers would have noticed the cannabis, the yield contest that we're holding here on the network. Go to paceradio.net, click on the link. You'll see all the rules and the information on the plant. Don't be fooled by the looks of that clone, okay?
Yeah.
It is growing. It didn't go into the ground until basically the middle of August.
Okay.
But it's growing.
Yeah.
It's got buds on it. It's in bloom a whole bit.
Okay, we'll see.
And I got some guesses. So we need more. We always need more.
Where did the plant come from? Was it just a clone or?
Yeah, it was a clone that of a strain called Humber Valley Kush that I passed on to fellow Reefer reporter Glenn Prentice over 8 years ago.
Wow, that's incredible.
I had grown it for over 10 years and I lost it.
Oh, how wonderful.
Glenn was coming by, like literally right by my place. He lives in New Brunswick, but he was headed to Peterborough, just down the road from me.
Yeah.
And so he stopped in the middle of July and gave me some cuttings, and I turned them all and got them all potted into clones and everything, rooted, and now they're out. I got one outside.
Are you excited?
Turned it into a contest.
Yeah. Are you? Because you haven't had it then in a long time.
I haven't had it in a couple of years.
Right. So that's exciting.
Right. So
Croptober is just around the corner.
Croptober is just around the corner. That's right. Croptober.
That's right.
Another 5 days. 4 days? 5 days. 4.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Exactly. All right. On to our next story here on the news. MJ from MJ Biz Daily. Las Vegas gives thumbs up to cannabis consumption lounges.
It's right in Las Vegas and Clark County, a boon for the industry, they're saying, in the area's crucial tourism sector. The council voted 5-1 on Wednesday to deny a motion by member Victoria Seaman to prohibit such businesses, clearing the way for regulation, and that's according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal. So 5-1.
Key words: a boon for the industry in the area's crucial tourism sector, Kelly.
Yeah. It's going to be huge for them.
You're always talking about that.
Yeah, big time.
Yep. The approval comes about 2 months after Nevada regulators finalized rules to open up the state's cannabis market to an estimated 60 to 65 cannabis consumption lounges.
That's amazing. The city had automatically opted into the consumption lounge licensing process, the Review-Journal reported, because it hadn't responded to a September memo from the State Cannabis Compliance Board.
Yeah, but Wednesday's vote gave Las Vegas a chance to reject cannabis consumption lounges. The lounges, which can't sell alcohol, must be located in unincorporated areas of the city and Clark County.
Now, Clark County extends from California to the Arizona border in the southern part of the state, as well as north of Las Vegas. So it's a pretty big area.
Yes. Yeah. And it looks like they're going to open up before the end of the year. So that's good.
Okay. Off to Vegas.
Boom. Do you hear that, Ontario? It's been a boon. It's been good for business. Come on.
The tourism sector. Come on.
Yes, exactly. We need lounges. You know, we
Yeah,
had lounges for
we
years,
do.
did you know?
I know, I know. You heard about the hot box closing its
Yes,
doors
I heard the
forever
hot
now?
box is closing.
Correct.
Abby actually posted it. Abby doesn't own it anymore.
No, she sold it 3 years ago, but they were supposed to keep it, as far as I knew, according to the friendly stranger who's in there right now. I thought they were going to keep it, but it sounds like they're gone now. It's so
Yeah,
sad,
yeah.
eh? All of the legendary lounges are gone.
Well, Planet Paradise. I think
Yeah,
that's the only one. I posted a picture. Somebody posted on LinkedIn about the
yeah,
lounge
yeah.
situation. So I posted a picture of the list that I used to have in a brochure, and there was like about 14 lounges that were listed on that list
Wow,
on there. And
wow.
I think the only one that I know of that's left is Planet Paradise.
Paradise. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, hopefully they'll be able to keep it open then.
well, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right, on to our next story. Good story. Free medicinal cannabis to be donated to epileptic children in the U.S. That's according to Sky News.
Wonderful. Its scores of epileptic children in the UK are set to receive medicinal cannabis for free after private firms responded to a Northern Ireland mother's plea.
Charlotte Caldwell from Cold Tyrone campaigned for help for families facing large bills for privately prescribed cannabis as they go through a lengthy application process for NHS. And I tell you, it's a lengthy one, and not
Yeah.
very many people succeed.
No. What a hero she is. 3
Mhm, she
private
is.
manufacturers have now agreed to donate medicinal cannabis to children who are in that process.
Come on, Canada. Come on, Canadian LPs.
Right?
Yes. Speaking to Sky News from her home near Castledurg, Ms. Caldwell said the move will make a huge difference to these families. At the moment, as we're all aware, we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis, and this is really going to relieve the financial burden on those families.
Now, we've reported on Miss Caldwell and her son Billy before. Billy
Lots
lives with severe refractory epilepsy. He was the first person in the UK to be prescribed medicinal cannabis after his mom embarked on an intensive campaign. She's a fighter, eh?
She
Wow.
is.
Woo.
I believe that I'm 100% sure, but I believe it was coming to her from Canada when this all got caught in the news.
It's incredible.
Yeah. In November of 2018, Sajid Javed and the then Home Security changed the law to allow patients to be prescribed medical cannabis by specialist doctors.
And Billy's 17 now, and he receives a cannabis treatment 3 times a day. His mom says it's reduced the number of seizures he suffers from around 100 a day to practically none.
And I recently saw somebody say that cannabis isn't medicine. Billy's doing incredible well. It's made a massive difference, his mom says. In all, about 90 families with epileptic children in the UK are attempting to access cannabis treatment on the NHS, but considerable hurdles remain.
Right. They must apply for the NHS funding of their child's treatment via the Refractory Epilepsy Specialist Clinical Advisory Service, a process that can take as long as 8 months. While they await for a decision, they face bills of thousands of pounds for cannabis products.
And in London, Maddie Berendon Abbott is engaging with the NHS process for treatment for her 16-year-old daughter, Maya, who has epilepsy. In the meantime, she's had to take out a loan to pay for the medicine.
Of course. Cost-wise, we're paying around £780 every 4 weeks for the cannabis medication from a private clinic. That's about maybe $1,200 Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. And she says that when we realized that to get the cannabis products that we want and had to go privately, our friends and family chipped in and helped us at a great deal, and we then had to take out a loan to try and keep going.
Our loan is slowly dwindling, so we really need to find another way of getting the cannabis products through the NHS. Ms. Berendon Ahmed is hopeful, though, that she can avail of the free cannabis that Ms. Caldwell has negotiated from the private manufacturers.
She says that if we didn't have to worry about finding that money every 4 weeks to pay for our medication, it'd be a huge weight lifted off of our shoulders. The NHS has been perceived as being very slow on the uptake for this. We're already got enough pressure and we don't need any more. Like 8 months for an approval process. Hello, like
Wow.
come on, like
Wow. Can't you grow your own at home? Come on,
yeah.
help these people. A spokesperson for Sky News says that these individual clinical decisions and many doctors and their professional bodies remain concerned about the limited evidence available on the safety and efficacy of these unlicensed products.
Child goes from 300 seizures
Yeah.
a week to practically none.
None. Come on.
They go on to say that we would encourage all manufacturers to engage with the UK Medicines Regulatory Licensing process, which would help provide clinicians with confidence to use the products in the same way that they use other licensed medicines that are recommended for use on the NHS.
Families like the Caldwells are in no doubt about the positive impact medical cannabis has had on their children's conditions, but understand the health service must take every precaution.
Until the system becomes more streamlined, the move from the private sector to donate cannabis products has been described as hugely welcome, especially as the cost of living crisis continues to hit the UK families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, help the kids.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's great. I know at one time there was some LPs that were helping some kids, but I don't know of anything to do with free.
No.
And when you even with the medical end, like earlier we're talking about the medical end might be phased out.
Yeah.
Well, what about the products that patients specifically use that they find all the time that it's the same product, and all of a sudden they stop making it just because maybe
Can't do that. Everybody's endocannabinoid system is different. We all need a different mix-up of the different cannabinoids and the different things that are coming out of the plant. Everybody is different. So when you find that medicine that's working for you, especially if you're a child, you need that medicine. You need to stay on it, right?
Yeah.
Can't be taking it away.
Taking it away.
No.
And it's happened. It's happened here in Canada. All right. On to our next story. According to ABC, marijuana stays on the doping ban list and opiate tramadol is added. So cannabis is going to remain on the banned substance list?
Yeah. It's and they're adding in opiates. So basically they're saying cannabis is the same as this dangerous opiate.
Wow.
It's going to remain banned on the sports events after the World Anti-Doping Agency this past Friday resisted calls to change its status on the list of prohibited substances.
Yeah, the agency was asked to review the status of THC. After the case, the United States sprinter, Sha'Carri Richardson, who did not go to the Tokyo Olympics this year, she served a 1-month ban after testing positive at the national trials meet where she won the 100 meters. The sprinter has said she had smoked cannabis as a way of coping with her mother's death.
Of course.
Yeah.
In a separate decision, the opiate tramadol will now be banned when athletes are competing from January 2024, and the WADA Executive Committee decided at a meeting in Sydney, Australia.
Athletes who use cannabis were consulted by WADA-appointed experts, whose conclusion included that it was against the spirit of sport. The positive test for THC at race and events, though not in training, can be therefore continued to trigger bans as short as 1 month.
WADA director is saying that the debate is not straightforward. WADA is also mindful that the few requests for THC's removal from the prohibited list are not supported by the experts through review. We are also conscious that the laws of many countries, as well as abroad, international regulatory laws and policies, support maintaining cannabis on the list at this time.
So, like, aren't these things usually on the list because they're performance enhancing?
Right. But it's medicine.
No, I know some stuff is on the list because it's illegal, but as we know, there's many countries that are legalizing cannabis.
Right.
Wow, silly. They say that WADA also noted the high threshold level to register a positive test for THC, which is consistent with a significantly impaired athlete or frequent user. Tramadol has been an issue in cycling, which outlawed its use at races starting in 2019.
Very interesting that they're Now, after the Tour de France in July, Nairo Quintana was disqualified from sixth place when 2 samples showed traces of the synthetic painkiller. He wasn't banned, though, and is challenging his disqualification in the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's an opiate here.
Yeah, Wada says that the tramadol abuse with its dose-dependent risk of psychological dependence, opiate addiction, and overdoses in the general population is of concern and has led to being a controlled drug in many countries. Okay, now they explain that dose, the overdoses, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But they're banning cannabis because of none of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Why? It enhances you in the sense that it makes you a better person, but it's not like it's giving you any superpowers. It's making you feel better. It's making you healthy. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any
They said
sense.
the in-competition ban will be enforced in January 2024, giving time to educate athletes and team doctors and address the safe use of tramadol for clinical purposes.
Yeah. Big cycling, I guess they're using it for pain or whatever. But if they use cannabis, they'd feel much better. Certainly, but that's banned too.
Yeah.
Can't use any of it.
Yeah, without the nasty side effects.
I know. I seem to remember Michael Phelps, who is the greatest Olympian in the history of the Olympics, saying that he uses cannabis. He's a swimmer, the most medal-winning human on Earth.
The 7 or 8 medals. That was that year that the bong photos and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. He says that's what he uses. That's his medicine. And his mom says, and she's quoted as saying, they told her to put him on ADHD medication when he was younger, and she said, "No way, I'm going to make him swim." So he swam and used cannabis instead. And look where it got him.
Look where it got him,
Beautiful.
Lots of medals and people who ran from him because they were scared because he had cannabis involved.
So bad.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, from one athlete being banned to effect of another athlete being banned. Yep, the Griner effect. 10 countries you should never bring cannabis into when you visit.
Yeah. Scary. Let's just start with the very first one being Singapore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, it's popping up this silly little hedge trader here. He's trying to talk to me.
Oh, you got that too. In Singapore, the trafficking, use, and or possession of cannabis is punished with the death penalty by hanging.
Oh my God. Wow. Don't go to Singapore with a doobie. Don't bring your vape pen. Don't bring your tincture. Don't bring anything to Singapore. You will be hung.
You could.
Oman. I've never even heard of this country before. Where is that one?
Well, I don't know where it is. It's over. I'm going to guess over there by the AEU.
Yeah. Which we'll see a little bit later.
Yeah, there it is down below. So, Oman, it says in that country, what do they got? Possession and use of cannabis and other drugs are punishable by 50 lashes.
What?
Yeah, and I can tell you that's not with a feather broom either.
No.
20 years in prison on top of that.
And you have to go to jail for 20 years if you have any cannabis.
Yeah, trafficking.
Yeah,
punishable by death. Death.
In the case of foreigners, you get deported after the sentence has been served. So
after you've died,
they'll
send your body back.
I'm never going there. No. Well, Indonesia is next on the list.
Indonesia has one of the highest number of visitors in the world. Regardless, the nation does not distinguish between citizens and tourists in such matters. Oh, look at that.
Oh my God.
Sentencing for drug possessions range from 4 to 20 years. Look at that, 4 to 20.
What?
Yeah.
And then death penalty in some instances.
Yeah.
Okay, never. I feel like if I go to these places, they'll just smell it from my skin or something. Like they'll catch me and put me away, Al, even if I don't come there with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my good. Okay, so the UAE, the prison convictions range from 4 years to an inconsequential life sentence for possession. What? Oh my goodness, read the next line.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Some cases that include trafficking could lead to a sentence of death by decapitation.
Yeah.
Okay.
You read that right.
Okay, no,
They're
go
gonna
for
cut.
it.
They're
Go
going to
ahead.
take you. They're going to take you to a public square, and they're going to, in front of everybody, cut your head off in order to make an example out of you
In 2022 for a plant.
for plant.
Oh
You
my
got
God.
that.
Okay. No
Yeah.
vacation there for me?
Me neither. Me neither. Philippines, where we have listeners from the Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful there, but they do
Exactly.
not like cannabis.
No.
A drug trafficking penalty range from two extremes, life imprisonment to execution. What?
Read the next line.
Selling 1.5 grams of cannabis can earn someone a sentence of life in prison. 1.5, like this, like a doobie for some people.
Yeah,
Or in jail for
exactly.
life. That's it.
Yeah, you'd be selling a doobie to somebody.
Yeah.
And you could serve life in prison. You can imagine being somebody, 24 years of age, and then being sentenced basically for 60 years for selling a joint.
For a doobie. Wow.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia.
Making use of any form of recreational drug, including cannabis, attracts punishments by public flogging, imprisonment, penza. I'm not sure what the penza part is, or deportation. Trafficking of large quantities of drugs can attract death by beheading.
Oh my God. Could you imagine? We're in our country right here, and there's people in other countries in the world that are getting their heads chomped off for the plant that we use every single day.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Taiwan.
This is why you tell people, just because Canada is legalized, that doesn't mean you got to stop educating
and advocating.
Getting the word out.
Yes, we need. This is a very important article. In Taiwan, the last sentence you could get for possession and or consumption of cannabis in Taiwan, minimum is 7 years in jail. Minimum for that doobie.
Consumption. You smoke a joint, you get busted smoking a joint.
Yeah.
Minimum 7 years in jail.
Yeah. No.
Or you can get the death penalty if you want, if you got busted with large amounts.
Oh my goodness. No, thank you. I will stay here.
Exactly. China.
Same thing, kind of thing here. Drug trafficking and possession attract hefty prison sentences, and even up to the death penalty if you have over 50 grams. China records the most executions carried out per year. Over 1,000. 1,000 people are executed in China a year.
Wow. So you get busted with 2 ounces of cannabis, you get the death penalty.
That's it.
In China.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It makes me want to hide. This article is the scariest article I've ever read.
In Iran, the sentences for possession of cannabis range from flogging to life in prison.
Wow.
Okay, now remember, a lot of Canadians go to Cuba in the winter.
Yeah, for vacation.
Yes, and what does it say?
If you have any part of the plant in Cuba, it can earn you up to 4 to 10 years in prison.
Yeah. For larger amounts, the sentence could be 8 to 20 years.
Oh my goodness. And the death penalty comes if the offense was done by a state official. So if you're a state official of Cuba and you have cannabis, that's it. Off with your head.
Yeah. Wow. And a lot of Canadians go to Cuba.
I know. That's so scary.
So now let's go to some friendly places.
Okay, I feel better.
Much friendlier places.
Okay.
The Netherlands.
Okay. Amsterdam has had a long history of being in the cannabis traveler's mecca, and it's still a popular destination. They're not like legal in their country, but they have their hash shops
trying to ban tourists.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, see the next country?
I like that one. I feel safer now.
Canada.
Whew. Feels a lot better. Yeah, they're saying, we can have 30 foreigners and Canadians can have up to 30 grams of cannabis in their vehicles on their person. So it's certainly a lot better here when you're a
Yeah.
tourist traveling to it.
I like the first line. Just have to thank Canada for their highly progressive cannabis laws. A good thing for smokers. If only the U.S. would do the same.
That's a good point. Really good point.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
here. Come to tourist
Come here.
destinations in Canada.
Jamaica.
That's a good spot. One of the best spots on earth is this Caribbean sea island paradise. And since early 2004, when the sole source of cannabis was Jamaican on the beach, in the street or in the lobby room in a hotel, tourists can now find legal dispensaries there.
Yeah. Belize. There they allow for the private use and possession of up to 10 grams of cannabis, but the adult use market has not yet been established in the nation. Although it is officially forbidden, the Balinese government usually allows it as long as visitors behave properly and don't fight in public.
Okay. Those are, I can follow that. We can follow that, right? Chile, the highest average per capita use of cannabis in Latin America. Wow. They're in a blood-shaped nation. Are they really? I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah, I guess so, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they say the bottom line is just like the wages of sin and death, the repercussions of smoking in the countries with those stringent laws are real. So you should think twice about even traveling to those countries for any substances.
I do not even need to think once about it. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm never going.
Yeah, you don't even have to think twice.
No way.
Yeah,
no way.
What
would we do? You know what I mean? Like, imagine we, as medical cannabis users and patients, we can't travel somewhere where we can't get our medicine over there, right? And then if we happen to find it on the black market, we're nowhere. I'm going to stay in Canada or go to Jamaica. That's it.
There's one country in there that I'm surprised wasn't in there. And I don't know what, I guess, it's North Korea. And you think, oh, North Korea, right? Whoa. Well, they don't have any cannabis laws. The last I was informed, they have no laws against cannabis.
Oh.
No laws for, no laws against in North Korea.
Okay, maybe, I don't know. Well, they changed everything in Thailand. Thailand should have been on there. Not Taiwan, obviously, where you get decapitated, but Thailand, where they just legalized a lot of different cannabis products, and they have cannabis CBD pizza shops popping up. So that, I think, will be a tourist destination.
Yeah, I think so. And I hope other countries around there would see that, hey, the sky hasn't fallen. We don't need to be killing people over less than 2 ounces or even 1.5 grams.
Or at all for a plant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's that time. It's time for That's right. It's time for our Mushie moment. Now, today's article is a little bit further back than what we normally go, but I still think it's important, and I'm sure you agree with me as well, Rev Kelly, because when I'll get into that. Here we go. It says a Canadian minister meets with the Oregon Psilocybin Advisory Board. When cannabis, before you get started, when Canada was looking at cannabis legalization, they traveled to the U.S. states that had legalized cannabis to see how they did it and what they found. They did the research, right?
Smart.
Okay.
Smart.
And
Sounds like they're doing that again.
Now we got, within the last month, our minister has gone down to Oregon to see what's going on with psilocybin.
She went down. She's the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, and met with members of the Oregon Psilocybin program, which they're saying is a surprise move, which may signify easing restrictions on psychedelics.
Yeah. Back in August, Canada's Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, Carolyn Bennett, announced over Twitter that she had met with Oregon's Psilocybin Advisory Board, the group responsible for formulating the rules under which legal psilocybin will be allowed in the state. Bennett is also the Associate Minister of Health.
Okay. Now, in 2020, Oregon voters voted to decriminalize all drugs, as well as to open psilocybin healing centers where adults can legally receive psilocybin-assisted therapy, even without a doctor's note. While the legalization of psilocybin centers will happen next year, illegal drugs in general have now been decriminalized in the state for more than a year.
Yeah, the main purpose of Bennett's trip was to meet with Oregon's Criminal Justice Committee to capture data on the impacts of these reforms and conduct an analysis of the criminal justice impacts of decriminalization.
I'd like to know about that. I'd like to be a fly on the wall in that room. After
Mhm.
thanking the governor of the state, Kate Brown, Bennett added in one last tweet, last meeting in Salem was with the Oregon Health Authority and the Psilocybin Advisory Board, which gave us a presentation on the state's framework for psilocybin services, from manufacturing and delivery to purchase and consumption services, as a result of ballot measure 109 that was passed in November 2020.
That's right. These two updates are significant, as it potentially points to the direction that the Liberal government is planning on taking when it comes to drug reform. The Liberals have been pushed by members of their own party to decriminalize all drugs, and in 2018, the party members overwhelmingly voted to end all criminal penalties for illegal drug use. But the government, which is not bound by how Liberal Party members vote, has shied away from the idea.
Now, since the Liberals have a minority government, they rely on the support of the third-party NDP, who supports decriminalization, though they won't bring the government down over this disagreement. I wish they would.
Well, they won't bring them down over decriminalization anyways.
Yeah.
Also, the recently third largest Canadian province, BC, decided to decriminalize all drugs, as did Canada's largest city, Toronto.
Brilliant. Given these political updates in Canada and the fact that Oregon's decriminalization experiment seems to be working, it is possible that the Liberals could be considering legislating a Canada-wide decriminalization, though it is too early to tell.
As for the potential legalization of psilocybin or other psychedelics such as MDMA to be used as medicines or more broadly, the Liberal government has never really spoken on the matter. Currently, there is an active court case claiming it is unconstitutional for the government to prevent patients from accessing these medicines, which may force the government's hand. And limited number of patients can access psychedelic therapy through something called the Special Access Program. And here we go. They're following the cannabis procedure.
Brilliant. It's so cool to watch. As far as the widespread adoption of legal psilocybin and other psychedelics, this is the first hint that the Liberal government is at least studying the idea.
That's right. Exactly. And at this moment, these tweets are all we know about the situation, so we should not rush to any judgments. Nevertheless, the fact that the Canada's Minister of Mental Health and Addictions and the Associate Minister of Health decided to publicize that she met with the Psilocybin Advisory Board is interesting, and I agree.
Yeah.
Perhaps it points to her future intentions, though, again, it's too early to tell. Yeah. That's why I thought, I don't know how much this has gotten out there. I thought, yeah, okay, maybe it's an older article, but it's important for people to know that this is going on.
It's on its way. I think so. Well, you've seen this happen before when it came to cannabis. So if they're following the same path. It would be a really wonderful thing if they could decriminalize world cross country. Canada, decriminalize all drugs, make it a health issue as opposed to a criminal issue.
Make it a health issue.
Yep.
Health
Funding
issue.
for that.
Exactly.
Yep. Yes, please.
People have been screaming about this for years and years.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anything you want to mention before we say goodbye?
I'm just excited for your yield contest on Pace Radio, so I'm going to go check out that and put my vote in because I want to win.
Yeah, I was out there this morning taking a look at her. Okay. She's out there growing, smiling. Leaves are all standing up. It was just enjoying the fresh rain that we had overnight. Yeah.
Okay. I have a plant from Legacy 420 from April 20th from Legacy 420, a Pineapple Express clone they gave me. And so I'll post pictures of that and see. Blessings to Legacy 420 for a beautiful plant because she's gorgeous.
She is, eh?
Yep. Yeah.
Nice to see. And you will enjoy that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I will.
Yes. All right. That's our Reefer Report for September the 26th, 2022. And in closing, we'd like to say thank you for watching. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. And don't be killing people over a plant. Oh, my God. Later.
Oh, yeah, baby. That's lovely.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.